Okay, maybe I start. Shall I start? Yeah. Okay. So hello, my name is Brehault. I work for a company named Machina Corpus. I'm from France. And here is my talk about Plomino. So I've been running Plomino for a long time now. I started in 2006. And yes, solid as Zope, clean as Plone, easier than Django. That's all true. Solid as Zope because it's basically based on rock-solid Zope technologies. Clean as Plone because it works through the Plone interface entirely. And easier than Django, well, I'm going to prove that. So the Python community thinks that Plone is difficult, Django is easier. Okay, so that's pretty much what people are thinking about Plone, and they've been discussed in different talks up to now. And well, that's true. That's the way they think. But actually, let's see. Plone deployment. Well, you have the unified installer. You have build out. It's not that difficult. I consider it easy. What about Plone skinning? If you use Diazo plus gbot, this kind of stuff, that's so easy. Really, that's the case now. And developing new content types with Dexterity, it's fantastically easy. I mean, you just do that through the interface. No code, and you get a new content type. With Dexterity, it's fantastic. So nobody can complain about that. All deployment, skinning, specific content types are now really easy in Plone. And that's a success for us. So Plone is easy, that's good news. But that's about building websites, okay? And if you want to compare to Django, what people usually do with Django is they build web applications. When a Django person wants to build an actual website, he will rather use WordPress, I guess. So Plone can build website easily, but regarding web applications, I mean custom web application, well, it's difficult. That we cannot deny that. It involves a lot of knowledge to understand a lot of different frameworks and different ways to produce your code, put it to the right place, etc. It's really difficult, and we all know that. So basically, we need an equivalent to Diazo for application development. Something easy, something that can be given to a non-Plone expert, and it will allow him to build a web application the same way you can build today a Plone theme without knowing much or anything about Plone. So that's Plomino. Plomino is a web application builder. It's not a framework, okay? It's not like archetypes or Dexterity. It's not a framework, it's a tool. It's a product that you install on your Plone website, and it allows to build web applications. It is 100% through the web, okay? It offers very simple concepts. There is nothing about model, classes, this kind of stuff that we developers are comfortable with. No, it's much more simple than that. And it's entirely scriptable, which is good for us developers. You can create forms in minutes. You edit a form directly from the TinyMC interface. I mean, same way you would create a web page onto your Plone site, this exactly same way can be used to build a live web form. There is no model association. The form just works. If you use it to save data, you're going to save the data. If you change it later, the data is still okay. There is no problem. There is no constraint. Never constraint. When you use Plomino, it will work the way you think. So I'll show you a little demo. So I'm on my Plone site. Plomino is installed. I have a new content type. So you just add a new Plomino database. If you don't mind, I get a chair. So that's my simple database. Let's say I want to manage lunch for the Plone conference attendees, for instance. So I will add a form. I add a new form, which is going to be my lunch form. Okay. So I'm going to save it first. Sorry. So when I modify my form, like any web page, I have a form layout, which is provided by TinyMCE. But in TinyMCE, there are extra buttons. It's not easy with this size of screen, but anyway. So you can create a form. So you have an attendee. Let's say you had some kind of bread. I don't know, fruit. And I can just turn that into actual fields by selecting. So attendee going to be a text input. Very nice. Bread as well. Fruit. That's it. I'm going to provide maybe a title here. Well, I don't mind. I save, and my form is okay. It just works. Okay, that's a form. I can use it. I can create the Eric's lunch, for instance, white bread and banana, for instance. Okay, I can save information. Okay, and I can structure the form the way I want. If I want to, it's a TinyMCE. You can structure the layout the way you want, the rendering. You're not necessarily stick with a way to render your content type. It's not content type. Okay, it's just a free layout that you can edit the way you want. Okay, you can also import massively information from CSV. This means you can create your application that way, so people can use it and create new documents with your forms. But you can also extract if you have any existing information, let's say in an SQL database, anything, Microsoft Access database you want to move on your intranet, this kind of stuff. You just extract it as CSV and import it into your Plomino application. So let's first generate a view to see things better. Yeah. Oh, yes, I can. Better? Okay. Okay. So I generate a view. So this is the place where I can see all my documents. For now, as there is only one. I'm going to import much more documents using the CSV importation feature. Okay. Recent files, lunch. And now if I go back to my view, I see all my documents, see? It's quite a long list. Okay. Okay, so basically that's it. If you can design a form that match the columns of any SQL application you might have, you can turn it into a Plone application really rapidly that way, okay? Plomino, well, what you have seen is really simple, just few text fields. not that much, but Plomino is providing a lot of rich interface elements that you can just put onto your application without any kind of development knowledge, okay? So you have accordions, so you can collapse some area into your forms. You have data tables, you have charts, maps, so I'm gonna show you a few of them. So first, here, if you see this view, it's kind of sad, not that much sexy. Let's turn it into something dynamic. So I enable the dynamic rendering and save. And now we get something much nicer, which can be sorted dynamically, which can be filtered, so you can look for John and let's say banana. Okay, and you get your information really rapidly that way. So that's one of the components. Let's have a look to accordions, for instance. So let's edit my form again and make a few changes. I don't know, let's say this is going to be part of an accordion, like that. Come on, sorry. And I save. So now you have something like that, which can be handy if you have a long form. This is really easy to do. You just drag and drop, click a button. That's just like editing contents, okay? Let me show you something about charts and data grids. So you can have, oops, sorry, not that one. Here I made a small form to manage sales. So you have a table with all the selling for such product, such country, such amount. That's a dynamic table again, same principle as we just see for the views. And I've made few different renderings, so I can see on a map the different sales amount. Or here I can see on a bar chart the total sales by product. That's really easy to do. You just add some fields which are of type Google visualization. Google visualization is a Google library providing a lot of interesting stuff for visualization. And Plomino just push the data it needs, and you define the rendering you want, like bar or pie chart or whatever. You can pick the color, or you can choose to have a 3D rendering or whatever. It's really, really easy. That's something you do really rapidly with Plomino. Now, let's go back to presentation. One of the big principles in Plomino is that all features are ready to use. When you use something in Plomino, it's going to work. It's going to produce something. For instance, you create a new form, it will come with all the buttons like open, save, delete, etc. that you might need just to use it in a simple way. Same thing for charts, maps, etc. You put that, it's going to work. It's going to produce something usable, not necessarily what you necessarily want, but it does work. So you have something to work on. And then everything can be customized if you need. But the first move is okay. You do not have something broken at the beginning. It's always working. And formulas are actually small piece of Python that you can use to change the behavior of Plomino. And you can put formula everywhere. And formula are edited directly from the Plone interface in Python. And they are, behind the scenes, they are compiled as Python scripts. So that's restricted Python, so that's safe. Okay? So yeah, that's Python. So it does involve development knowledge, But as I said, if you don't want to get into code, you can just use the default behavior. If you need to change that behavior, you smell some piece of Python. What can it be used for? You can, for instance, create specific actions, like adding a button on your form to send an email to someone, add a button to produce an output, I don't know, a Nick Savas put, or anything like that. You can also handle events, for instance, decide to add extra code, extra stuff to manage when you save something, when you open something, when you delete something. That's something you can do with formulas. You can also have computed fields, because fields can be editable, of course. By default, they are editable, so that means the user can enter data. But you can also produce fields which are not editable, which are computed. So you can produce dynamic information into your form directly with that. And there are many, 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 many other cases of using for formulas everywhere in Plomino, basically. Okay, so editing Python. Okay, we know about that, but most part of the time we do that into source code, into files. So we do have our favorite code editor and so on. In Plomino, it's through the web. Everything is through the web, through the Plone interface. So to make formula editing easy, Plomino provides some features like inline code editor, like error messages as well, because you have to consider that the user is just like a content editor. I mean, he's not directly on his server, able to see the log, able to debug manually from the server. It is outside. Okay, it's on his web browser, so he gets back error messages. He can have an inline step-by-step debugging mechanism, and he can also have a performance profiling tool. So I show you that rapidly. So here, for instance, let's go into the formula which produce this chart. So I go to the design of my database. That's in cell analysis, and I have a bar chart here. Okay. So let's imagine I made a stupid mistake like this. If I go back to my page and refresh, then you're going to complain. Error. Field formula failed. And you have a pop-up like that where you can see your code and what is bad. So here you have as an error, it means the syntax is bad. You can see here if something is wrong. If you don't see the error, you can run a step-by-step debug. It's based on Cluzo. So it opens a Cluzo session, and you can start debugging. So you play your formula line by line until you get a problem. And here we go, invalid syntax on this line, just because of the previous line. Okay, so that's how you can debug. And here you can test. You can, for instance, ask for a variable like sales. So you can interact. You can see the values. You can sales 0. Okay, you can try to test your code before and try to understand your problem. So that's inline debugging. Regarding the code editor, so it's not displaying right now. Maybe it's because of the zoom. Let me check. Yes. So that's Code Mirror, which is a nice JavaScript code editor. So it displays the line numbers. So let me zoom again, please. You have colors. It match parentheses. It match square bracket and so on. It indents the code. So for instance, if I go in the for loop, I type in, I'm indexed. It indents automatically the code. What else? You have the full screen mode. And the nice thing about it is when you press Control S, it does save, which is nice. So that's the code editor. That's quite handy. Regarding profiling, that's something you can access when you are running the server in debug mode. Of course, not in production, because it might impact the performances. So if you enable profiling for all the formula, forms, and fields, for instance, maximum level of profiling, then every time you display something in Plomino, you get this with the time used for each field, each formulas. Some formulas might have been run several times, so you can have the times for distinct formula only. And that way you can know if something is bad in your code. Because basically, most of the people who are using Plomino are not Python expert at all, so they might just messing up. They might have an idea about a way to collect information which is not smart. For instance, making a loop on all the records several times and making a loop into that loop, and then it would produce really bad performances. So this is kind of help. You can, if you see somewhere 10 seconds to compute this field, then you might imagine that something is wrong here. Okay, forms are not necessarily used to enter data. You can create forms to produce documents, okay? But you can also create forms just to have a dynamic page, let's say, something that you can script. So a form can display anything, okay? You edit a layout and you put dynamic fields into that layout and you're going to produce whatever you want, actually. You can create a search page, you can create a report page, you can create a map, you can display a picture, some pictures as a gallery, you can produce any dynamic HTML content you might imagine, okay? So that's kind of nice, because if you're not a Plone expert, once again, it's gonna be difficult for you to produce, let's say, a browser view, to expose such or such layout you would like. So if you cannot compose the page you want using the basic Plone features, like portlets, plus the different display mode you get, you cannot do much about that. You have to go into template coding and this kind of stuff. And with Plomino, it's really easy, as a contrary, to produce whatever you want by just providing few code here and here, and putting the HTML you want and getting something nice. And one of the main important thing in fields that you can produce with Plomino is that rich text fields, which are normally edited, are as editable fields, are just tiny MCE fields, so a user can enter any kind of content. If you turn them into computed rich text fields, it's a way to create dynamic HTML wherever you want into your form. So that's, HTML means anything. So basically you can open a script tag and put JavaScript directly into your form. So you can make your form really, really dynamic using that. You can insert JavaScript really easily that way. And plus Plomino provides a JSON API. So it makes it quite a nice platform to build kind of nice JavaScript-enabled application, which is totally not the case with regular content types. I mean, that's something we would not be able to do with Dexterity easily. So let me show you rapidly what you can do. Okay, so that's a really simple example where you manage products. Okay, so you have a form to create some products with a photo for each of them. Okay, so I don't disable the profiling. So I have 2 products for now, and what I would like is to create a kind of shopping cart. Okay, so I create a form, which is a shopping cart, another form, and I can choose the product I want. And the thing is, I would like my customer to be able to see a preview of the image in a nice way. So here I have a selection list, and I just display dynamically the image according to the choice the user made. So the way to do that is really easy. Let me show you rapidly. So we have a field which is a selection field. Okay, so that's nothing special here. No, it's a doc link actually, but it kind of behaves like a selection field. It just takes all the document from search view and display their name into a list, into a selection list. So here there is no code, but there is another field, product preview, which is computed. It's not editable. It is computed, as you can see here, and it's just this. Excuse me. Okay. So what do? I create an HTML string, and I return this HTML at the end. So to ease the HTML writing, I use the double quotes, so that everything going to be escaped. I can use double quotes everywhere and so on, so that's much better. And that's just a small JQuery stuff to define that when I change something in my select field, then I'm going to hide the current results, then load my document, the targeted document, the product document, and get its content. And show that using a jQuery UI transition fold. And that's basically it. So this kind of stuff can be easily produced by, if you go to the jQuery UI documentation, for instance, which is really nice, you will really see easily how to use show, hide, and load from jQuery. It's kind of easy. That's something that a lot of developers, which are non-Plone developers, knows about. People from any kind of web development framework knows small enough of JavaScript to perform this kind of stuff, and the result is quite nice, because this produces nice effect, which is probably something you might do easily with regular Plone development. I mean, it's not part of the frameworks regarding the user aspect. That's not something the user can do easily, okay? With Plomino, it's just easy. Coming back to my presentation. Another interesting thing is that forms can be inserted as portlet anywhere into your Plone site. So you might have an application somewhere to manage, I don't know, employees' vacations. So there are forms for that, there are approval process, and so on. But you also want to display everywhere on your website who is not here today. Okay? With Plomino, it's really easy. You just create a form which going to look up in the vacancy database who is not here today, and you display it as a small list, and you embed that into a portlet. So you can. It's a nice way to produce, let's say, quick search forms, or reminders, or provide shortcuts to create, or maybe to create a dynamic navigation bar. So if you're not happy with the standard navigation provided by Plone because it does not fit exactly your need, you want to make sure that you need to hide this kind of stuff if that's kind of person, or maybe exchange the position or whatever. Something you can just reproduce with Plomino easily. Or you can do any dynamic content like, let's say, weather forecast by using external JSON services. It's something I'm going to show you because it's quite nice. So maybe you know Yahoo QL, do you? You don't? You should. JQuery is actually really nice. It allows to query any web resource as SQL, basically. So you can do something like select star from HTML where URL equal www.plonconf.org, for instance. You can do that, and you get the result as XML or JSON. Okay. So using you can target any existing website or any existing RSS source or JSON source or whatever. But there are also services provided by Yahoo directly, like weather. Yeah, weather here. So if you do something like that, select star from weather forecast where the weather ID is such ID, you get a result. Okay, let's remove unnecessary stuff. You get a JSON result like that. So here we are in Sunnyvale in California, and you have a forecast here. Okay, you have cloudy, and sunny. Okay, that's what you get. Okay, but you maybe don't know the ID of the city you are living in, or you want to display the. You need to extract this ID from somewhere. There is here places somewhere. Place vendor. You can find everything about a place. So let's say Arnhem. Okay, so you have information about where is it, which country, and you also have this where ID, which is cool. So if you select only the where ID, you get this. So if you take that and go back to weather report and replace here, then you get the weather forecast for Arnhem. Okay, so that's quite handy, and it's a JSON API. You just copy the call. So this is the resulting JSON call to get the weather in Arnhem. I copy that and I put it in Plomino directly. So here I have a city form. So let's create, I don't know, Casablanca. That's what you get. Okay? So how does it work? There is a portlet form here. So that's just a form, actually, it's just a regular form, but it contains a display forecast HTML field, which is quite simple. Well, quite simple. Not that simple, but so it gets the city name from the current display document. So you have the city, then it just make a call to your JQuery expression. So you have a long line here, which is the one you copy paste from the Yahoo website. You just replace Arnhem we have typed in the Yahoo interface with your city value, and you get a result. Then you drill down this result to produce HTML. So you can display the city name, and then you go into forecast attribute in your JSON thing, and you get the date, you get the right image to display, and the text, and basically you return that into your div you have produced here, and you return that as HTML, and you're done basically. It just does that. So if you change the name of the city, let's I don't know, my city. I don't know if how the weather in my city. Okay, rainy. Okay, and another example of nice integration of jQuery and JavaScript stuff with Plomino is maybe you noticed that there is completion on the city name. So you have, if I tap on, I can get all the city in the world directly with auto-completion. It's really easy to do, really easy. Let me show you rapidly. It's done using a custom template. Sorry. You can provide custom templates for any kind of field. So here I have just I use the autocomplete JQuery UI feature. I connect it to the GeoNames web service, so I can get the city list and just provide suggestion when the user is entering data. So that's something extremely easy to do as well. So, thank you. Another interesting aspect of Plomino is all through the web. So you deploy in seconds. You don't need to access your server disk. You don't need SSH connection or whatever to deploy an application. You deploy through HTTP from a server to another. Okay? So you can work on your local instance and have your production server somewhere else. You just push your application. You can also export into a file, XML file locally, and then import it through the web later on another instance. So I'd show it quickly I hope, because it's. So let's say just love this weather forecast application, and oh no, not this one. Let's. Well, I don't know. Charts. Let's say charts. This application is nice. So I go to the design. I export it as XML. Yeah, okay, here. And then I go on my online server. So I hope the network is good today. So that's my production server, let's say. And I log in, yes. Go to the folder where I want to create my application. I had a new empty Plomino database. It's my demo. It's empty. And I just go to design and I import back my file. Where is it? Here is it. And you're done. You have your cell and cell analysis form, and you can use it. It's online. Okay, sorry. Okay, it just works. It's empty, there is no documents, but you can also push documents if you need. You can replicate your documents from a server to another using the same mechanism. And it can be done direct, instead of downloading an XML file and importing it. Again, you can do it through HTTP directly. For instance, if I take that one and go to here somewhere else, let's see here. I add my new demo. It's empty. I go to design. And here I do not provide a file, but I provide the source. And I don't remember the username. Oh, okay. Anyway, it just works the same way. You can get directly the XML. It's streamed directly to you. What else? Well, nice thing about XML import-export, it allows you to export your development, which is web-based. So that's kind of dangerous because you cannot trust the system if you need to manage it using a Git server, using a Git repository or SVN repository. That's much better to make sure you do not lose your development. So with the XML export, you can put all your development safely into your favorite versioning system. Okay, so that's really important. You can also make tests on Plomino application using this format, because if you export your application as XML, you can have a test, a regular Plone test, which creates an empty instance of a Plone site and import your XML. So you have your application which is built in your test instance, and you can run a test scenario on this. And that's how Plomino is tested on Travis currently. All the sample database, there are a big set of sample database in Plomino, which are part of the source. And every time we commit something, we're gonna, on Travis, we create an instance of each of those database and run a scenario on it. And it makes sure that Plomino is always working. So you can do that also for your own application to make sure they're still working. Even you imagine your user is breaking something because it's all through the web interface. If you give him manager access to it, he can break everything. Well, it's probably wise to have a testing mechanism to guarantee everything is okay. And something really important, Plomino can be used by anybody. And the last time I trained people, I mean, not last time because the last time was here in Arnhem, but the time before that, the people I trained had no idea how to open a new tab in their browser, okay? There have been no knowledge at all of IT, coding, programming, nothing, no HTML, nothing, okay? And 2 days after, they were putting online their first database. And it was a real database. I mean, something they put on production for their users. They were really proud of that. And I was also proud of that because they're non-developer, total non-developer. And they made that, so that's really nice. But I do use Plomino in my everyday work. I mean, you can use Plomino as a developer in a very, very smart way to just improve your productivity, okay? So it's not just for non-expert. It can be used also by experts like you. So I have a few use cases I can show you rapidly. Few minutes? Okay, so let's make it quick. I made a system for a website which is providing OpenRP expertise. So here, the Plomino application is basically to track the user interaction. The objective of the website is to get information, about potential customers. That people are coming here because they're interested in OpenRP. They're looking for information. For instance, they're going to the FAQ, see something which is nice, and when they ask for more information about it, they have to fill in a form so that the company can call them back and maybe propose some service, sell something. So Plomino is used for that. So you have here a form which is dynamic. So when you select your different information here, if you say I'm interested in search and search stuff, you have the form which is automatically expanding, and you enter all your information, and this information is gathered and directly injected in their own OpenERP CRM system so they can call back the people, okay? So Plomino is just here to collect information about the user and send it back to a backend system like OpenERP. Another example is POSO. Here we made a volunteer database to manage seashore pollution in Mediterranean. So you can register into this database to say yes, I'm a volunteer. I can help when there are pollution in Mediterranean, and you have a small map where you can see all the volunteers. This is all done with Plomino as well. I'm passing quickly because it's time now. For the Ghent University, we made a diploma information tool, which is quite nice. So students can have information about all the diplomas. Okay, it's kind of slow. Oops, yes, it works. So you can choose which type of diploma you're interested in, and you have the list here. You can filter really nicely. This is all Plomino based with the tabbing system. Everything is big set of different Plomino databases which are aggregated to produce a single information page. And last example, where is it? That one, it's a tracking website. So you can, okay, it's kind of slow, too bad. You can see tracks on a map. You can, it's kind of really slow. Okay. Sorry, it's kind of slow, but this is all Plomino made. It does not look at all as a Plone site, okay? So here we have Diazo, of course, plus Bootstrap, plus Plomino, and we put all that together to produce this kind of nice interface, which is really dynamic. It's really slow again, I'm sorry, but you can filter the tracks, for instance, with criteria like that. Ah, it's too slow. The network is kind of bad. It's not as impressive as it should. I'm sorry. Anyway, that's it. So here you have one Plomino form. Here you have another one. This is a map, and I made a talk about maps, so maybe you see that. So this is a portlet form with Meseo, the same I shown you. Basically, that's it. This is all done with Plomino, and it was really easy to do compared to the similar development with basic Plone. Okay.